Good morning, everyone. This is Mitch. Hope y'all have had a fantastic start to your Saturday morning. I got y'all an update on Henri, and we're going to break down the latest information as some things have changed a little bit as far as where it can make landfall. We're going to go over the latest data as far as impacts and really talk about the storm and break down what we know right now. And we'll make another video later this evening talking about the updates because impacts from the storm is going to begin to get felt as early as late tonight across the Northeast and Southern New England. So let's break this down. If you guys have not subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. I upload content every single day. Sometimes I double up during the day, depending on how active the weather is, which it is now because we are having a landfalling tropical cyclone situation here in the next 24 hours. So it's important to try to relay as much of the updated information as possible. So that's what I'm trying to do for you guys. Thank you all for the amazing support. Like the video if you like it. This is what we got. We have still technically right now is Tropical Storm Henri. It's actually, the storm's a little bit what you call elongated a little bit, which means it's kind of strung out. Even when you look at the infrared here, it doesn't look particularly like a very healthy storm. Tropical storm, yeah, it's a high-end tropical storm, still a 70-mile-per-hour storm. The hurricane hunters are actually in this storm right now trying to gather data, so it may get upgraded here in the next hour or so to a hurricane. If it does by the time you watch this, well, it's a hurricane. But I am almost certain that this will get upgraded to a hurricane sometime today. I will admit I thought that would have been already, but I think that Henri has struggled a little bit to take advantage of the favorable conditions and hasn't intensified quite as quick as I think a lot of people think it would. Therefore, I think that's helping to adjust long-term tracks, well, tomorrow as far as when it's going to make landfall. And I'll talk about what that means here in a second. But look how close it is to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There's actually some weather kind of from parts of Henri actually affecting probably areas of the coastal areas in North Carolina, some influences from the weather, but it's looking good right now. I think the storm's starting to wrap around, and I think it's going to get healthy here. And like I said, Recon is in there right now gathering data, and I'll show you the latest updated information here in a second. But check it out. You don't really have winds screaming out the north anymore, so you don't have any big-time shear. It's in a favorable environment. This is water vapor loop here. The more kind of the darker shaded colors, that's more so dry air. And you can actually look. I know it's going to be a little hard to see on your screen. Like I said, I'm going to try to get these videos in 1080 by the end of the year when I get a better computer. But you can actually see the air movement from the northwest slipping southeast. That is the upper trough we've been talking about. You can actually see the wind direction as it moves down here. It begins to turn. You can look at the more moist cloud tops right here, and then it begins to buckle back up northeast. That is right there, the directional pull for Henri. Dipping down right here, this upper trough, and then coming back up. This little dip right back up to the north and then northwest is what's steering Henri to the north. Therefore, that is why it's going to head north, and actually it's moving a little northeast right now, but it's going to begin to shift back north and possibly even northwest. We'll watch that, but that is how it's getting steered right now. Also, a ridge of high pressure building up ahead of it will help to lock it in as far as the landfall in southern New England. Look at the latest recon information. Let me try to update this really quick. Here we go. It's obviously finding more of the strongest winds right now in the southeast part of the storm, and that makes sense if you look at this, as it looks like more of the blow up is right here, more of the convective explosion is in the southeast part of the storm. So it makes sense. You got winds at 60 to 70 to close to 80 knots. That might be good enough to upgrade to a hurricane by the time some of you guys watch this. But either way, there's going to be data being flown into the storm. Well, planes being flown to the storm all day to try to get updated information. But right now, I think the lowest millibar low pressure it's found is a 996, which pretty much signifies a tropical storm. Normally, when you get about sub 990 or so, that's when you start to get hurricanes, but not always. That's not always what that means. But the latest update here, I'm going to make sure there hasn't been an update here in the last 5 minutes since starting this video. Nope, it's still technically a tropical storm. Moving north-northeast at 12 miles per hour, so it's picked up because of the influence of this upper trough digging down here. And, right now it's still a tropical storm. Like I said, by the time you watch this video throughout the day, some of you guys, it will be a hurricane probably. It's still forecast to become a hurricane probably in the next update or two. But now it's having it making landfall per the National Hurricane Center cone. It's just a tropical storm. And some of the guidance today overnight into this morning has came in a little bit weaker and a little bit more east. So that might be good news for Long Island, but not y'all are not out of the woods. So trust me on that. And a little bit worse news for areas like Rhode Island and southeast Massachusetts, like we originally were thinking a few days ago. But I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. But it's forecast to make landfall in southern New England regardless. And right now, per the 8 a.m. update, a 70-mile-per-hour storm. You look at the latest storm surge, where the storm, tropical systems in the northern hemisphere rotate this way. So while it's rotating like this, if the center of the storm moves over Long Island, then the main push on the onshore flow is going to push water on the right side of the storm because it's flowing like this. When it's flowing this way, that's an offshore flow. So there's not going to be as intense storm surge. So that's why the highest storm surge is right here from 3 to 5 feet. And all these bays right here in Rhode Island and southeast Massachusetts and the Sounds and Nantucket and Cape Cod. That's why the most intense storm surge. This area right here in Long Island, there's a couple areas that are really, really flood prone as far as storm surge. They get the worst impacts as far as storm surge. There's a couple areas right here on the eastern sides of Long Island. So you have to watch for the center. If the center makes landfall here near Mastic Beach or Mastic Beach, however y'all pronounce that on Long Island, then the worst storm surge is going to be here, especially Block Island. I don't know who all lives on Block Island, but I think they're going to get the worst weather out of everybody. I really do. But here you go. So moving forward here, as far as rainfall from the National Hurricane Center, saying the worst rainfall is going to be around Long Island into Connecticut, where you could get anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of rain. I really think this is going to dissipate quickly, but it's still going to unload a ton of rain, just like any tropical system does. Right now, this whole entire area of the red, including New York City, Hartford, Connecticut, and Albany, New York, there's a 20% chance of flash flooding occurring of 25 miles at any given location. So flooding is a big concern. I feel like that hasn't been mentioned a lot, but especially is in these mountainous areas when the system gets into the higher terrain here in the interior southern New England, and probably promotes mudslide situations and more runoff situations with rivers and things like that. So we look at the latest update. This is the GFS per the latest GFS from this morning. It has this moving up, moving north. GFS still has this thing strengthening to a sub 980 millibar low pressure, which is definitely strong enough to be a hurricane. It still likes it intensifying as we get into Sunday, overnight tonight into Sunday morning. And then it shows the weakening trend as it's coming in. But I'll tell you, it's shifted a little bit east. Now it has it making landfall more so in the Bay Area here in Rhode Island, and not necessarily way over here in Long Island. You look at the run previous to this, it's obviously more west. The run previous to that, more west. The run previous to that, it's about the same. But there's been a little bit of a short-term trend of it making landfall more east, and that might be because the storm is a little weaker right now than I think what some people may have thought it would have been. We've always said from the beginning that a weaker storm, I guess shorter term than the lack of westward it would be. A stronger storm would make it probably tug and be influenced more by that upper trough, and it probably had been trended. Sorry guys, I'm mumbling my words here. It's in the morning time and my coffee hadn't kicked in. But basically a stronger storm would have been more west. So you also look right here in this area right here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. There is a area of ocean way up here, 30 degrees Celsius. That is around the mid 80s as far as in Fahrenheit. And obviously you see the Gulf Stream right here. The storm is riding over parts of that right now, but it's also probably going to get close to this warm pool of water. You have to watch that, and I think that's where it can intensify, but then quickly weaken when it gets out of that warm area of water. And depending on how fast it goes, how slow it's going, if it's going slower, it's going to sit over this cooler water longer, and it's going to have a chance to weaken, and maybe the brunt of the strongest winds will not be quite as bad. You look at the latest Euro, and I'm just going to show you the MSPL right here. Basically, it gives us a good idea of what the millibar low pressure is. And as it making landfall on the far eastern areas of Long Island as a 992 low, which is probably a tropical storm, maybe a low-end hurricane. So a little bit of a weaker trend, a little bit more of an east trend. but still a very impactful system, and things could change tonight. We still have a lot of data to figure out here, but very interesting storm. I want to show you the HWRF model here. This does a good job of showing us when the nastiest weather is going to be, and I've always thought this storm was going to be more west weighted, meaning the worst part of the eye wall. The eye wall goes over the center of the storm, or this way, the center of the storm. And sometimes when you have kind of an unhealthy hurricane, if you will, a low-end hurricane, you don't have an intact eye wall where the entire eye wall is very intense. You only have certain parts that are more intense than others. Well, looking here, as you can tell, it's a pretty healthy hurricane at this point, probably a category 1, maybe a category 2. I doubt it, very doubt we're going to reach category 2 as we get into the overnight hours. Moving forward, as it begins to weaken, it loses that eye wall content here. And you notice it gets a little weaker on the southeast, the east quadrant of the storm, and the biggest part of the eye wall, which is the most intense winds, the most intense rainfall, and the nastiest weather in general, shifts to the west side of the storm, which the GFS has shown and most models have shown. So that means even if it makes landfall, say, in Rhode Island, as we get a little bit further in motion here, if it makes landfall on the furthest east tip of Long Island, still, Long Island, even maybe as far west as central Long Island, is going to get blasted by this eye wall. Moving forward, even you guys in Connecticut, the entire state of Connecticut, could get blasted by a nasty wall, an eye wall, which that's what promotes those 60 to 70 miles per hour gusts, which would be in this case, and the nastiest rains, the heaviest rains, and just the nastiest weather in general. Is basically who gets slammed by that eye wall interaction here. So, as you can tell, as we get into Sunday afternoon here in Connecticut, you are dealing with some very, very nasty weather as it begins to pull inland and weaken very quickly. And you look at the latest wind gust here, and this is per the latest GFS. Moving forward here, you see the areas in these brownish kind of shaded areas, whitish areas. GFS does a great job of showing it, thinking the nastiest weather actually initially is going to be probably on the western side, but then the GFS kind of just shows strong winds on all sides. But this is potential wind gust, and I'm telling you, the eastern areas of as of now of Long Island are going to get blasted by 60, 70, potentially 80 mile per hour wind gusts, not sustained, but wind gusts. And then the latest GFS has this moving into the Bay areas of Rhode Island and making landfall ultimately in the little small state of Rhode Island. That would be unique. But check it out. Block Island gets the center of the storm and just gets hit very, very hard. I don't know who lives out there, but they need to get off the island, honestly. But nasty storm, intense storm. This is the latest update I have. Y'all know the one this evening, but definitely prepare if you're out there, and stay safe. Thank you all for tuning in. Y'all have a great day.